You say fuck a lot.
Do I?
Yeah, like at times every second word.
Okay. This is happening, Laura. LaRocque Life Podcast. 5 years after our first YouTube video. Sitting on a couch.
It's been 5 years?
5 years. It was like December 2014.
Oh, okay.
Something
Cool.
like that. So we have that going for us. Sure like the couch. So yeah, we got LaRocque Life Podcast. It's our first episode. We're going through just what we want to talk about with each other, what we want to talk about with our audience. It's going to be a lot about relationships, adventure, and freedom. Those are kind of that's the tagline. That's everything that we have been trying to structure our life around lately and just keep striving for that. Relationship being number one. This podcast for myself kind of pushed Laura into it, but it all stemmed from our late night talks over the last few months. Like we just sit around and talk, and it's like, man, this information's gold. We have to get this out. We have to let people know what we're talking about. Along with Laura's coaching and everything that she does with her programs, this is just another great way to get out information and help as many couples as we can.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's funny that you say that because I think that the things we talk about are just so mainstream and common, but in talking to other couples and realizing that actually it's not, and we do have some gold to share. So I guess that's where we can kind of dive into a little bit about, why we're creating this podcast. I know you kind of said that, but like why we personally, like what's our story that has brought us here. And in this first episode, we're totally just winging it. I mean, we have no idea what we're doing, but we're just here to serve. And I really believe that everything that we go through in our life is happening for us. And we get to choose if we take that as an opportunity to, share it forward, right? And so part of our story is Mike and I have been together for 16 years now?
Yeah, at least, hey?
I think so. Is it 15 or 16?
Because we're 18 and 19.
It's so long ago that we don't remember.
Yeah, that's how long it's been. We've been married for a while.
We were 18 and 19. So we grew up together in a way. Like we were lost souls at 18 and 19. And we came together then, and then we got married 6 years after that. And we just thought we would have that white picket fence type marriage where,
of course,
as soon as you get married, then you buy the house, you have the babies, and you live happily ever after, because that's what I thought was great from
That's what you're supposed
Disney
to do.
movies,
Yeah,
right?
that's exactly what you're supposed to do.
But no one in our life really taught us a healthy relationship, what that looked like, and also, how to cultivate that. And so I guess after we got married, we just sort of had thing after thing come up that disappointed us in that way.
I think so, yeah.
Right. I expected just to be like I said, let's go get a mortgage, let's buy a house, let's have babies, and I will just have the perfect life. But we went to go apply for a mortgage, and we couldn't get a mortgage.
No, we got a mortgage, but that was in like the high...
That's when...
That was in like the highlight. That was right after our wedding.
Right, so that was in 2010, and the market was really high. So yeah, we got a mortgage for an amount that would have bought us like a backyard shed at that time.
Yeah,
right?
It was like 2 something, so we would have got a really nice garage. That'd be about all we could get. So that beat me up for sure. Just on the masculine level, on the man, like this is my job. I'm supposed to get my wife a house so we can start a family, and fuck, I couldn't even do that right. Like it was just that really hit me hard. That hit me hard for quite a while. I had a tough time dealing with that one.
And you were really good at dealing with your emotions, right?
Oh yeah, I'm like every typical guy in my mid-20s. I was so good at processing everything and letting everyone know how I felt and really making sure had a safe space. What else can we say about it?
And just so you know, because you might not know us very well yet, but that's totally sarcasm.
Yeah. Well, the bar treated me well, and then found a lot of answers at the bottom of some bottles.
That's how you processed your emotions. That's right.
Yeah.
And so after that, what happened? Essentially, oh yeah, right.
Well,
So
we fell into like a whole.
we decided to put all of our debt together and pay that off first before we would then buy a house. But in that process, we got so focused on paying debt, saving money, and putting it all towards that we forgot to live, and we really didn't have like any passions or purpose. We just went to work, and then on the weekends we drank and we partied, and we were still pretty young, but I mean, it was time to grow up, and I wanted to grow up, and Mike didn't quite want to grow up yet. And so
Overrated.
Yeah, so our relationship really took a turn there, and things weren't looking good. Mike and I were really growing apart. I wanted something different than what he wanted, or at least what he thought he wanted, or I thought he wanted.
Just that phase is in, right? Like,
Yeah.
I was just hiding behind the bottle. Really, I just drowning myself in booze.
Yeah, and you just had this idea of this is what life will look like. Like, I will work at this company, I'll make it to the top, I'll retire here, we'll take a trip a week. Or, sorry,
Yeah,
that would be sweet.
That would be sweet, yeah.
Take your 1 week trip once a year kind of thing.
Yep.
And you were happy with that. We were both happy with that. Like, that's what we've known as we grew up. Like, that was like, actually, a trip a year. Why do I keep getting hung up on that? A trip a year is actually more than we had growing up, right? Like, I'm talking a tropical trip. Getting out of the country, right? So, I mean, that was kind of a step up.
100%. We're doing well.
But through this process, I really started going on an inward journey, and I started working with a coach and a counselor. And I thought it was all Mike's fault. I first went in and I was ready to leave Mike, but I didn't know how because I was very codependent on him. He was the first and the only relationship that I really had that I knew. And so when I first started working with my coach counselor, I went in there and I was like crying and all about Mike. And, he let me do that for the first session. And then he said, we're not going to talk about him anymore because this is about you. And that was the first time that someone actually like put responsibility on me. And I was like, oh yeah, it's like my responsibility to create my life and do the work that helps me understand what I want. So anyways, long story short, there will be lessons out of all of this coming in future podcasts, but we just want to give you like an overview. So in that, Mike was very egotistical. I told him finally that I was working with a coach and that I wanted things to change. And essentially his mindset was, well, I'm not changing, so we'll see what happens. So we kind of made this agreement that we'd stay living together. So essentially we were roommates. And in 3 months, we would come back together and talk about what we wanted to do. But the cool thing is in that 3 months, I really learned to let go of control. And I gave him all of his personal responsibility back. And he had to start owning his stuff. And I was essentially just preparing myself to leave, to be happy when I left. I had to face all my demons. Not all of them at that time because many more came up after that. But I mean, they still do.
They're still popping up.
But I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, it was the counselor. Like we were going through that, right? And I was, as soon as I heard the word counselor, that was like the big no for me. And I thought any work you had to put into a relationship was stupid. That if you had to work at it, why are we together? Like,
I so remember you saying that stuff, and at the time I didn't know any different either.
No, and I was like, well, you're supposed to be my fucking soulmate and this and that, and
it's just supposed to work.
It's supposed to work, and this is what it is, and you're just gonna be happy, and you're gonna know how to make me happy and how to take care of all my feelings some magical way. I don't know, without telling you how to, or even knowing the right tools or any tools on how to. So that was it's an interesting time, but no one tells you that shit, man. Like, I didn't learn that in school. I didn't learn that. I guess that's the responsibility of parents, but I mean, I grew up on a farm in northern Saskatchewan where, you're just trying to pay bills. That's what it was, right? So I think it was a totally different generation. I had older parents. I think the way they showed love was just trying to get you everything that they didn't have and working their ass off to get it. And they did that for sure, but there was just, I didn't learn a lot of the emotional tools or just how to deal with anything or even how to have a conversation. I've never really watched my parents, aside from fighting, like really converse or
show affection.
Yeah, like show affection, but in the ways of like the day-to-day life things. I just, maybe I did see that and I just didn't pick up on it. I don't know. Like, I just don't really know how things got done in the relationship my mom and dad had on the farm. Like, always seemed like dad was up early, home late from like working couple jobs plus trying to get this farm going. Mom worked like 12-hour shifts, and yeah, I didn't learn that, right?
Yeah. And that's placing no blame on them.
No,
like
100%.
Like,
they did an awesome job with what they knew and what they had.
Yeah.
They did everything that they could, but I didn't learn those tools from them. Or
Yeah.
if they were out there, I didn't take them in for sure.
Yeah. And that's what I love when you say that, like, because I remember that so clearly too. And I'm just so grateful now that we get to look back like 8 years later and realize that, yes, you do need to work on your marriage like daily.
Oh, hourly. Like, yeah, it's just a constant.
Minute by minute.
Pretty much.
But
check yourself, check your marriage. Yeah.
I totally remember you saying that, and I was just like, oh gosh, okay. It was all new to me as well, right? But so in that process.
To be fair though, we did do our 1-day Catholic course before we got married, or was it 2 days?
I know, but when we did that, okay, now we're gonna get in a fight on our first podcast. And fighting is healthy, people. Okay, fighting is healthy when you do it in a
just constructive.
Yeah, exactly. But because Mike and I are at this point now where we can really like point things out to each other, we could have never done this. Like even 5 years ago maybe, but 8 years ago, like we couldn't have pointed things out because our egos would be in the way and we would take it very personally and we'd get defensive. Now we like joke and laugh about these things all the time because we know that it comes from a place of love and growth. But going back to that marriage course, I think it was actually 2 days. It was a 2-day weekend.
Intensive.
But you were checked out. Like, you just thought it was stupid. Like, I was like, okay, so we're going to learn to communicate this way. And you just like didn't care, right? But
no, I was there. I remember being there. I was probably just fucking.
You were probably hungover.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
But
oh god.
That just goes back to, right, like your mindset was.
That was all ego. Yeah, sitting there. Yeah. This is retarded, but it has to be done. So you get married in this nice Catholic church.
Yeah.
That's about it, really.
Yeah. But so, anyways, coming back around to that 3-month process of me preparing to leave Mike, something opposite actually happened because I started working on myself, and then in turn kind of mirrored onto him, and then he started working on himself reluctantly at first, but then you started doing things in your own way and not things that I forced him to do. Baby steps. I just let it all go. I was like, you got to do your thing. And it's so funny. I'll tell you some stories moving forward, like in our future podcasts when we talk more on feminine and masculine energy, because there was a lot of stuff at play at that time that we didn't know about. But now that we've been working on relationships for 8 years in our own, and then studying and then coaching other people, is that there was a feminine and masculine energy at play there for sure. And there's so much stuff that happened that we weren't conscious of in that moment. But we went for our third wedding anniversary. We decided to go together to West Edmonton Mall in northern Alberta, and we just went swimming at the wave pool. And we kind of just like had no expectations because we didn't really know like where we stood, but we just like had the best time, right? Like we laughed and we played and we
that day was unreal, eh? Like belly laughing.
Went down those water slides that just like were terrifying because the bottom drops out from you and you just like swoosh straight down. So there was this like that sense of adventure again, and just like that getting out of our comfort zone together and playing and laughing. And it was something that we we had definitely stopped doing for many years, right?
Absolutely.
And I think we were like walking through the mall after, and I just remember like holding your hand and like really feeling a love towards you. And then I think it was on the way home, we like seen a double rainbow, and we were sort of just like, okay, so what are we doing? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Did you remember what you said? Here's a test.
No, I don't know. I remember seeing that fucking rainbow because we were driving. I was just on Highway 2, right? We were just driving home.
We were almost home.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, so like, what are we doing? And you were just a dude. Like, you were just kind of like, oh, I think we should stay together. Like, I think we should just keep doing what we're doing.
Well, I fucking spent the money going to West Ed. I figured we're together. But yeah, no, I don't know what happened there, but I remember that day was unreal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that.
And so essentially what kind of happened from there, when I was on my own personal journey, I was totally in this mindset of, I'm going to move to India. I'm going to become a yoga instructor. I'm going to find myself, as you do when you're on a soul journey. My mom hated the idea of me moving to India by myself. But when Mike and I decided to stay together, we kind of I had realized for sure that like there's so much more to life than what we're doing here. Like just working day in, day out, paying off debt, saving money to buy a house, to have babies. I just felt like there was something burning deeper inside of me that I wanted more. And so I said to him, yeah, okay, but we're going on a trip. Like we're moving somewhere, we're doing something. And so we just sort of like put that out to the universe and things started really falling into place. And again, to make that story short, we ended up moving to London, England, not to Ontario.
What are you doing in Ontario?
Because every time we would tell people that, they were like, oh, Ontario? We're like, no, to England. So we moved to England the next summer for 2 years, and we had lived in our home for 7 years. We packed everything up in storage.
Sold a ton. Threw away a lot of stuff. Holy man.
Right.
I had to throw it all away when you weren't around too.
Oops, stop.
Big hoarder. No. But yeah, there was like, I just kept taking trucks, right? Because I was still working at the time, so I had all these construction sites with huge garbage cans, and I was just dumping everything.
Well, and that's just a great lesson on life in general, right? Like we as humans just end up holding on to so much stuff, and it gets pushed to the back of cupboards, and then you don't even realize you have it. And I remember that was a big thing. Like when we started going through our house, I was like, why do we have this? Or when did we get this? And our house looked very orderly. Like it wasn't that we were hoarders for sure.
No, it was well put. That was a nice place, yeah.
But yeah, I think we did like a garage sale that we sold like $600 worth of stuff at in one day.
Yeah, you did good.
And it was all very reasonably priced. You took loads upon loads of stuff to the garbage and to Salvation Army or Value Village or whatever to donate. And then we put the rest of it in storage. So just to kind of give you an idea of how much stuff we had.
Sold that beauty of a TV to Russian gangsters, I think.
Well, you don't know that. But we moved to England, to London with 2 one-way tickets. We had visas for 2 years, and we had 3 suitcases.
You missed the punchline. It's 3 suitcases, 2 one-way tickets, and 1 week's accommodation at an Airbnb at the end of the Piccadilly line. That I had no idea where we were. We
didn't know what that meant.
We got it. We were in zone 5, yet every day we traveled to zone 1. It's like to go to central London, which was like it must have been like half hour, 45 minutes on the train, subway.
We tried to save money on an Airbnb by staying further away, but we probably spent more money by riding the tube every single day.
But it was a great
to where we wanted to be.
Yeah, our Airbnb host was like super Asian, had a baby while we were there.
Yeah, that was really cool because she had a baby. Like I can't remember if she was from China, but she had a baby while we lived there, like literally. One of the nights that we were staying
it was like early on, a couple days in.
Yeah, but it was really cool because it was like our first introduction to like different cultures and like being with different cultures because like we're in their home, right? And her mom and dad flew in and they like live with you for like the first month or something.
It's a month
right?
or 2 months or something like that. Like nobody really sees the baby or nothing. Like it's just like mom.
So grandma
her mom takes care of
mom.
Yeah.
And she doesn't leave her bed for like a long time.
Yeah, they're just like hand and foot. And then she said then they pull the cord and then you're hooped.
And then they just leave.
Yeah, then they leave and then you're gone.
But yeah, so that was really cool. But we're not going to go into our London story today.
No, there's lots there too.
There's so much there. We lived there for 2 years. We traveled throughout Europe. We got jobs. We found amazing places to live. We met amazing people.
People, yeah, hey? Like the people and the adventures that we went on and it just proved that you can fucking live anywhere. Like you can do it. And we live well. Like we didn't even... It took a while, but you find some decent jobs and like we didn't live like travelers and
it just takes courage, right? It just takes courage to make a choice that's uncomfortable and doesn't matter whether it's moving or starting a business or asking someone out. Like it doesn't matter. Everything just takes courage, right?
Yeah.
But what's really funny to us is we grew up in really small towns in middle of Saskatchewan. You're more northern Saskatchewan. And, like we'd watch Friends on TV and just think like, oh, that New York lifestyle, like that looks so cool. Like that was just such a dream of mine just because it was such a different way of life than what I was used to. And then London kind of was that life. And so just for me, I was like, I can't believe that I live on the other side of the world in London that you only see on TV. And yeah, it was just like mind blowing. And so really what that did was just opened up our eyes to so much more opportunity, a different way of doing things.
Yeah.
And we really had to grow together, like continue growing together, because it was just me and you.
Yeah, no, you had nobody. Like, it doesn't, we did fucking really well there, to be honest. Because we were in a really good place when we left, or better place when we left. And then, yeah, we just had each other. Never really thought about that a whole lot. Like, I mean, like, what the fuck if the wheels fell off, right? Like,
well, that was a fear of mine, because I was like, okay, so we already went through like marriage troubles, and now we're going to move across the world together. And me being like a recovering codependent, I was like, I'm literally might die if we crumble while we're over there, right? Yeah. I would have to even get on a plane and fly like 9 hours by myself, which was like terrifying, because again, been with him since I was 18 years old. So it was just a really interesting experience where we got to still like have our lives, where we worked different jobs and we had our own different friends, but we were really still together, right? And we were really what we had. Like, we were the only piece of home we had, which was something cool that you always say, right? That doesn't matter where we live.
No, that was the biggest lesson in that, I think, for myself, is it didn't matter where we were, where we lived, what we even have or had. Like, it doesn't matter, just stuff, right? So as long as you're around, that was home. And then from London, we got pregnant on our, we had 4 months left?
Yeah, we got pregnant 3 months before we left London.
Yeah, so we had that, and then dragging my pregnant wife across. We came home for a couple weeks and then off to Vancouver, right? Trying to chase the next adventure.
Yeah, because we didn't want to come back to our old life. So Mike really wanted to move to Vancouver, and I didn't want to crush his dreams. So I went with him, obviously.
Yeah.
And we stayed there for a year.
Yeah.
And we failed.
Yeah.
Miserably.
There's life, and like there's never a failure. We failed, or I failed pretty good there. We can get into those for sure. We'll get into those on future episodes, but just like fuck, before we left, I almost got us stuck in Vancouver, aside from borrowing money from friends or family or anything like that. We're on like our last dime, and just happened to we got like pre-qualified for a bit of a bump in our credit card, and that was enough money for me to get a U-Haul and some fuel to get home, to get my family home. And yeah, that was
with a 6-month-old baby.
With a 6-month-old baby. So I mean, that was, talk about some stress and anxiety, and that was tough. Yeah.
But we didn't talk about it because there was too much pride and ego, right? And I think that's what's so important, to talk about it now. We don't often talk about things while we're in them, because we're figuring them out and we're doing our own inner work now. But once we're through something, I love to share it, because then people don't feel alone, right?
No, you're definitely not the only person to ever do that.
No, you only see people's highlight reels on social media, right? So then when you fail, you're like, oh my God, I'm such a fuck up. And like, nobody's going to like me, or like, I fail at life, right? But I love just that whole analogy now, that like, fail as many times as you can, right? The more you fail, the more successful you're going to be, or the closer you're going to get to your goals or your dreams.
Yeah, and just resilient too, right? Like, you feel beat up in the moment and you feel down, and you can't just fail and smile and be like, oh, hey, I failed, chalk that up to another one. Fucking sucks. Like, it hits you hard. There's fucking, you get depression, you do whatever, right? You take it out on yourself, on food, on booze, whatever. But when you can look back at it and see all the lessons that you learned, and you're still standing, like, I mean, you're still there.
Yeah.
Those are big, and it just proves to yourself how resilient you can be and how strong you are. And the people around you that really matter, like the people really in your close circle, how everyone just rallies together, and you get through it.
Yeah, and then we grew closer together through that as well, right?
It's massive.
I mean, we definitely struggled through it, but grateful that we went through what we went through the few years before that, where we knew how to talk to each other and to start expressing our feelings. But I mean, this is probably a little bit more in depth than we were planning to really share today, but I'm also just a really big believer that whatever is meant to come out comes out.
Yeah. No, like I say, we'll get into more of these. We can get into we'll go into each phase, and we'll go into all sorts of stuff on different episodes, but these are just broad strokes.
And this, I know, like, there's something in our words that someone's going to take that, they're going through right now, right? And
I hope so.
Hope
I really hope so, yeah.
And that's really the point of starting this podcast, is so we can like take these conversations, like we said, that we usually have daily, and share them with more people, because at the end of the day, we just want people to have better relationships.
Yeah, because everyone we work with, right? Everyone, all the couples we work with, like guys at work, every conversations I have, like most people don't know relationships. You're not taught even just some simple tools to help you through, right? And you're supposed to just know. But
yeah, and I think, like you said, it's totally a generational thing. But I want to just kind of go back to when we did come back to Alberta, where we currently live now. We've been here for 2.5 years, but you went back to your old job, which was not what he wanted to do. But I needed security and safety, right? Like as a woman, a new mom, that femininity in me, like I just really needed a safe
but
place,
right?
I
was
had to.
I was fucking beat up too, though. So I was extremely like wounded masculine going into my feminine, because I couldn't believe how much I fucked up, especially coming off of London. Like we saved a ton of money to go there. We had a bit of money. I ended up with this job that afforded us to live like a normal life. We weren't
and travel.
We were traveling while we were there. Like it was really great, and I was winning, right? And then come back and keep that big city life going, and just got fucking slapped in the face with reality. Not even reality, just I don't know what I was doing. I think I was still half in dreamland, thinking that all will be fine without doing too much. It was just circumstance, whatever, right? It is what it is. But
at the same time, there's light and dark, right? You experience both, and they both have benefits, and you grow through both.
Yeah, and I learned a ton. Like, I mean, those are some expensive lessons, Vancouver, but same token, like, fuck, I learned a ton of things about myself, about us, and at least our son's a BCer. He's got cool long hair. He's a West Coaster.
Got a BC birth certificate.
Yeah, he's a West Coaster.
But then we came back here, and you went through a depression, right?
Oh, fuck,
but
yeah.
Didn't really admit it at first.
No, that hit me really hard, because I ended up at the exact same place of where we left. It was like I just hit pause button on our life for 3 years, call it.
Yeah.
And fucking like literally same Carhartt, like just dusted off all the old equipment. I had them in totes, and I swore to myself I'd never use this stuff again. And there I was, opening the fucking lid of this tote, putting on my old Carhartts, old work boots. That was tough. And then going through it, I thought I craved it when we were in Vancouver, because I was like, fuck, I could make us some money, just work, do these things. And then when I was doing it back in Alberta, and it just like, every day just felt like more of a failure, because I was back doing this thing that I really didn't want to do. And
it was all happening just in your head, right?
In my head. No, in my head.
You were telling yourself. Yeah. So, but then that affected our relationship. We were growing further apart again, and
big time. Yeah. I was not a good partner. I know that. Like that was.
And this was more so recently. So I think it's also cool to share these stories, because it's like relationships have ups and downs all the time.
Constant evolving, right?
You're not expected to just get married and be in love for the rest of your life. Like there's always growth, and we're individual people who are always growing as well, right? So then also like being there for your partner in one season of life, and then they'll be there for you in one season of life. And it's just all about dancing with that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm very grateful that you're out of it.
Yeah, well, it took a lot too, because then it was just everything on my end, like doing all that, like fucking before we left to London, I was probably in the best shape of my life. In London, worked at a gym. I mean, cycled to work. I cycled like, I don't know, 15, 20 kilometers a day. So it was like, is in great shape, everything going, blah, blah, blah. Go to Vancouver, sitting at a desk for like 12 hours trying to sell cars, and then just eating shit, go home depressed, like eating my feelings because I didn't sell a car. So I got fucking fat again. So go through all this work to not like lose it all, have this great body, and then fucking get fat again on top of fucking no money and feeling shitty. So you're depressed, out of shape, just everything kind of working against you. So I went through a lot. That was tough.
Yeah. But again, it's all good because you worked through a lot of things, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then we wouldn't be sitting on this couch potentially if you didn't go through that, right?
No, exactly.
And we learned so much about relationships through that as well. I learned so much about myself through that with him. And so it's just really cool to shift your mindset in your relationships, right? And so I guess really like you're going to get so much more of different tidbits of that kind of stuff and the lessons through it, because I know that people are going to relate. You're going to relate to so much of our story. And I think that's really what we want this podcast to be about, is to be real.
Yeah. And we'll get the tools out there as well. Like obviously, like I say, these are just our stories to just so you guys know where we're coming from, but we can really get into some tangible tools to help relationships and just different, do some exercises, some backstories, and just have fun with it. And eventually like bring on some guests and just do that kind of.
Yeah. But I'm going to go back to saying real, because I think we're just so programmed from a young age to believe that what we're striving for is this perfect relationship where you don't fight and you don't have conflict and you don't have these waves of emotions and feelings and your wife is crazy or your husband's an asshole. But that's life, and there's actually nothing wrong with those things when it's not intentionally hurting the other person, but we learn how to not intentionally hurt the other person. Yeah. But just coming back to that, I just think that being real and sharing our journey and our story, and that we have, we have the most connected relationship we've ever had in 16 years now because of all of that stuff. So we just want to highlight to you and show you that it's not perfect. And in fact, actually, you can see in Mike's first how many years of our relationship where he thought that you didn't have to work on it and that it would just be great was the worst part of our relationship.
Autopilot didn't work so well on that end.
But now that we're conscious of how we show up in our relationship and then what our partner needs from us and what we can give them, life is just so much easier, right?
It is. I mean, and that's probably the biggest lesson for all of this stuff. And that's why we really concentrate a lot on relationships now, just because that's the way it evolved. Is fucking life's hard enough, man. Like you got bills coming at you left and right. You got people at work, asshole boss, whatever you got on the go. Everyone has outside problems. And then to come home, that's supposed to be your safe haven. That's your reprieve. And your wife or your husband, that's your partner. They got your back. You should just, have somebody in your corner instead of have all those outside forces fighting, finally get inside the door of your house, and then it's a whole nother fight or a different fight, or just feeling shitty or just not a welcoming place. And then what are you supposed to do? Then you leave the house and then you're up against the battle again. So it's just a revolving.
Yeah, you're constantly getting knocked down.
You're just getting beat up. Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, and I think for me, what I've noticed with working with couples is oftentimes, I don't work with couples, I work with women,
right?
But on their relationships, but them taking personal responsibility and doing their own growth. But what I think is cool in that is that oftentimes couples, just like Mike and I, and I'm seeing it with my clients, is one person wants to grow and evolve and the other person's sort of having that resistance, and eventually they come on board or they don't. Not all couples are going to grow together. No. But one thing that I think is just super exciting to show couples is that if you actually work together and come together and support each other and create a vision for your future, that you're like so powerful, right? You can create and do so much together instead of living in those fears and that scarcity mindset of, paying the bills. What's the economy doing? Am I going to lose my job? Like all of those kinds of things, bringing them forward is all fear and scarcity, right? And then you're disconnected and you're growing apart, and then you're numbing out and you're just like sitting on the couch, scrolling your phone.
Yeah, we haven't even got into that, right? So
disconnected from your kids, and then making yourself feel guilty because you're not being the parent or being the partner that you imagined you would be, and you're just stuck in this cycle, right? So for me, this is what this is about, like really to also encourage couples to grow together, because when you're on the same page, like you go, conquer the world together, not take it on together, not separately, right? So
no, there's just so much power in that. So much power in your relationship, and then knowing that you have a partner like that has your back no matter what. Like you're not out in public and they're kind of belittling you or even just making jokes at your expense or something, and they don't think it's a problem, but it is. And just see all these little cracks just wear on you. But when you have someone in your corner have your back all the time, it creates such a powerful thing. And it's just the connection you have with somebody and it goes all over, it goes through the whole relationship, right? Like then that leads to more like passionate sex, and not just like a sexless marriage or sexless relationship. You don't have any of that. Like you just, there's so much into it that it just helps everything, every aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you totally build up that passion. That reminded me of something that I wanted to share with you, and then I totally forgot what it was. Yeah, gone.
We'll figure it out.
That happens to me often. So I guess to like kind of probably wrap this up soon, but I want to just give you a little bit of an idea of what you're going to expect from this podcast moving forward. I mean, obviously we've told you the relationship side of things, but another aspect that we just want to quickly add on here is that coming back to Alberta after living in England, in a big city, like a city of creativity and the hub of like all of these new startups and just ideas becoming things. It was so different than growing up here where we were either farmers, or then coming to central Alberta, it was oil and gas, or like doctor, lawyer, nurse, teacher, you know, like the things you learn in school, your hopscotch things or your skipping careers. But it really did open our eyes to something different. And so we thought, why can't we live a life where we actually get to have more freedom and get to travel more and aren't so tied to just those things? And we did lots of research, we did lots of findings and tried out different things and failed different things.
Yeah, no sure that.
But ultimately what we've been guided to is online, the online space, because obviously we know the power of the internet, and you can be location independent, so you can travel the world. But so along with empowering couples in relationships and creating a vision and a goal together, we really want to help you, you know, with your finances. We're not financial advisors by any means, but we want to help you create other streams of income and really take that stress and that burden of money and worrying about your future and coming back together and focusing more on what you want as a couple and then conquering that together. So we do work online. We work with affiliate marketing online, and we're really passionate about that and helping couples in that arena as well.
Yeah.
So there's going to be more on that too. Marketing, goals, working together, all of that kind of stuff, right? Because what we have found too is to actually have a project that we work on together is cool because it helps us grow and come together, but then also it's helping our future and our finances.
Right. Yeah. No,
so
absolutely.
It's like multifaceted, right?
Yep.
Do you have anything you want to add to that?
I don't think so. I think that's just with those three key words, right? Relationships, big, adventure, which you do a ton of. And now that we're around here, it's just kind of shorter trips out west, do different things. But to get there, you have to have that driver, right? It's great, but if you have just need a little bit of financial, not even freedom, but financial, just some help even in that, just to take that burden off, right? And where you're able to have some fun. Because I know it's like when you get stuck in that mindset that you're just there's not enough, you miss the times that you should be fucking just in the moment with your kids, with your wife, with your husband. You lose that, and all you're just stuck in your head about not having enough money, but you're missing your fucking kid.
You're missing the point.
Yeah, you're missing your kid taking their first step because you're sitting there worrying about money, which doesn't fucking matter anyway because I'm still here, but I spent so many hours and days and months worrying about money and not being good enough and failing and all these things, and it sucks. You waste so much fucking time worrying that it doesn't do anything for you.
Well, and I think you just touched on way more than money in freedom, because you like freedom of your mind, right? To be stuck in that scarcity loop. But
you feel, you are a prisoner in your own head when you feel like there's not enough money.
Yeah. So freedom really means a lot of things, right? Like money gives you freedom, really.
And time freedom.
More.
Right?
Yeah. Time freedom to do more of the things you love with the people you love. So, I mean, really in wrapping this up, our passion is really to inspire and bring couples together, but also dream together, create together, create a future together.
And just be real together, right? Yeah.
Through the messiness and the good times, right?
They're no short of messy, yeah.
It's all perfect though, right?
Yep.
It's all perfectly imperfect. So we're going to be coming at you. God, we didn't even discuss that. Weekly?
Yep. We'll get weekly. We're going to get a couple rolling here right away, and then we're going to go to a weekly, and we'll figure out, we'll get a better, what do you call it? Structure to these as well a little bit, just so we're not jumping all over the place, but
Oh yeah, like we'll actually have topics and themes and
we'll get this
and
thing
stuff
going.
like that. But I mean, just to give you an idea, if you don't have enough idea of what we already told you in our story and the different lessons we've learned, but really what LaRocque Life Podcast is about: relationships, adventure, freedom, and we're going to be coming at you with different personal growth, healing, spirituality. That's going to be in there too. Marketing, learning multiple streams of income. What else? Connecting. Essentially, we want to just help you have better love, better relationships, and make some money together.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Make some money, make some memories, make some more experiences, have fun and play.
Make some love.
Make some love. I think too, having a project to work together is just like really cool. I think I already said that actually. It's really fun.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, well we'll sign off and then we'll see you shortly. Love you all.
Love you. Thank you.